Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive.
The podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
So let's start with a question. What if the light of the Creator you've been taught to earn through spiritual laws and soul corrections isn't a path to wholeness, but a cleverly designed illusion to keep you in perpetual self-audit and dependency?
That's a question that feels almost dangerous to ask, doesn't it?
It feels like trespassing.
Right. It feels like we're stepping on sacred ground. But today, we are not just trespassing. I think we're breaking and entering.
We're taking a sledgehammer to the walls.
We are. We're looking at a stack of research, a collection of source material that all points to a very disturbing conclusion. That the entire framework of modern spirituality, the love and light, the universal laws, the soul corrections, it isn't a ladder to heaven.
It's a hamster wheel.
It's a hamster wheel. A beautifully decorated, gold-plated hamster wheel, but a hamster wheel nonetheless.
And not just a hamster wheel. I think we need to be clear on that. Because, a hamster wheel implies it's just useless activity. The argument in our sources here is far, far more aggressive. The term they use is a containment matrix.
A containment matrix.
A system that's been designed not to liberate you, but to harvest you.
Harvest. That is such a visceral word. It implies we're a crop.
Or a resource.
It implies we're food. That our energy, our devotion, our suffering, it's feeding something.
Exactly. And I want to be very clear with everyone listening right at the top. We aren't talking about one specific cult or, one specific organized religion here.
No, this is much more pervasive.
It's that vague, spiritual, but not religious cloud that just hangs over modern culture. It's the idea that if you just vibrate high enough, if you just clear enough past life trauma, if you just obey the law of attraction, you will finally be happy.
You'll finally be worthy.
Right. And our sources today are essentially pulling the fire alarm on that entire concept. They're saying the game is rigged.
Right. It's a terrifying premise, honestly, because for so many people, these beliefs they're a lifeline. They're the one thing that makes a chaotic, often cruel world make sense.
Of course. It's a comfort.
It's a huge comfort.
Yeah.
So if we take that away, if we say the light is a trap, what is left? What do you offer people in its place?
Reality is left.
Yeah.
And sovereignty, but we have to clear the debris first. So let's look at the blueprint of this prison. The sources call this the architecture of the trap, and it all starts with something they call axioms.
Right. These are the foundational truths,
Yeah.
the non-negotiable terms and conditions you have to accept before you can even play the game.
Think about gravity. In the physical world, gravity is a law. I drop this pen, it falls.
Yeah.
Every single time. I don't have to believe in it. I don't have to visualize it falling. It just falls.
It's empirical. It's testable.
It's undeniably real. It doesn't care about my vibration.
It doesn't care if I had a bad day or if I'm feeling positive.
Precisely. But this spiritual matrix, as our source material outlines it, tries to mimic this reliability. It sets up universal spiritual laws, like the law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, the law of attraction, and it claims they are just as rigid, just as objective as gravity.
It says, there is a moral structure to the universe that is as hard as concrete. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. Simple.
But there isn't, is there? I mean, we just have to look around. We see terrible people succeed wildly all the time. We see kind, good people suffer unimaginable tragedies. If these were laws, in the same way gravity's a law, they would work 100% of the time. No exceptions.
Gravity never takes a day off.
Karma seems to take constant vacations. But the system has a brilliant workaround for this, a defense mechanism. It says, oh, the law is working, you just can't see the full timeline.
It's from a past life.
It's a lesson for a future one.
The effects are happening on a spiritual plane you can't perceive.
It moves the goalposts into the invisible. And once you accept that these invisible, untestable laws exist, you are trapped. You are primed for the second part of the architecture, the illusion of the external source.
The light of the Creator. This is the big one. Almost every single spiritual tradition, new or old, has this concept, this benevolent, radiant source of all energy, all love, all fulfillment that exists somewhere else.
Out there.
Up above, not here.
And by definition, if the all-powerful perfect light is out there, then where are you?
You're in the dark.
You're down here. You are the empty vessel that needs to be filled. You are inherently lacking.
This is a psychological masterstroke. I mean, it is genius in its construction. It leverages a very primal human feeling, the feeling of not being enough, of being incomplete.
It's a built-in power differential.
It parallels the concept of Platonic forms, you know? The idea that the perfect version of a chair or of justice or of beauty exists in some heavenly realm, and down here on Earth we just have the crappy, broken shadows of them.
And that makes you a beggar. The system is the philanthropist with all the light. You are the patient. The system is the doctor with the cure. You are fundamentally in a position of weakness.
And the source material argues that this is intentional. It's not an accident. It's designed to foster a dependency on unseen hierarchies. If you believe, truly believe, that you are fundamentally lacking this vital light,
you will spend your entire life trying to earn it. You will do whatever they tell you to do to get a little piece of it.
it's the ultimate carrot on a stick. But the stick is taped to your own forehead. You can run as fast as you want, but you will never, ever catch that carrot because the distance between you and it is built into the design of the system.
The source has a term for this. It calls it frequency sabotage.
Frequency sabotage.
By placing divinity outside of yourself, the system ensures a perpetual earning cycle. You are never allowed to just be. You must always be becoming. You must always be transforming, clearing, healing, growing.
And we frame that as a good thing. I mean, we say it all the time. I'm working on myself. I'm on a healing journey. I'm evolving. It sounds so noble.
Of course it does.
But what you're saying, or what the source is arguing, is that the very act of working on yourself is a constant admission that you are broken.
It's an admission that you don't own yourself. You are renting your soul from a cosmic landlord, and the rent is paid in self-improvement, which leads to the next command from on high. Become like the Creator.
Ah, imitatio Dei, the imitation of God.
On the surface, who could possibly argue with that? Be like God. Be good. Be kind. Be sharing. Be benevolent. It sounds like the basis for all morality.
But there's a catch. There's always a catch.
There is a massive catch. The source argues that this equates wholeness with mimicry. You aren't being encouraged to discover who you authentically are in all your strange, messy glory. You are being commanded to copy a template.
It's a suppression of the self. A profound one. If I'm busy all day trying to act like some abstract concept of a creator, I'm not listening to my own instincts. I'm not following my own desires. I'm constantly asking, what would the light do instead of, what do I want to do?
And here is where the Gnostics come crashing in, and we're going to go deep on them later, but just to foreshadow a bit. Gnosticism warns that the entity running this whole law and order system, this creator, isn't the true ultimate God.
It's a lesser being.
It's a demiurge, a cosmic craftsman, a flawed, jealous, bureaucratic manager who thinks he's the ultimate God. So if you're mimicking that creator,
You aren't becoming holy. You're becoming a middle manager for a cosmic prison.
you're becoming a prison guard.
Yeah.
You are actively suppressing your own innate, chaotic, beautiful sovereignty to fit into a rigid, bureaucratic mold of goodness that serves the system, not you.
That is heavy. It completely reframes the act of being a good person as being a compliant inmate.
It's not about being bad. It's about being autonomous. But the system cannot handle autonomy. It needs compliance, it needs control, it needs debt. Which brings us right into our second section, the economy of suffering.
Okay, so if the universal laws are the walls of the prison, then debt is the currency that's used inside. And we have to talk about the central mechanism for this debt, tikkun.
Tikkun. It's a Hebrew word. It means correction or rectification. It comes from Kabbalah, specifically the Zohar, but the concept is it's universal. You see it everywhere.
Karma, sin, baggage.
It's the idea that your soul is not a fresh, clean slate. It's a balance sheet. And buddy, you are deep in the red.
The story goes that you have spiritual baggage from previous incarnations. You were a cruel merchant in 1605, or you stole bread in ancient Rome, and now in 2026 you have a bad back or a difficult marriage to correct that cosmic imbalance.
This is what our source material calls the baggage recycling deception. And it is absolutely ruthless about this point. It calls it emotional farming.
Emotional farming. Explain that. Why farming?
Because it keeps you productive for the system. Think about it. If I tell you that your suffering is random, that you got sick just because of biology, or you lost your job because of a broken economy, you might get angry. You might get angry at the system.
You might revolt.
You might try to change the system. But if I tell you that your suffering is your fault, a debt you incurred in a past life that you conveniently can't remember, then you won't revolt against the system.
You'll turn inward.
You will get to work on yourself. You will try to fix yourself, to clear the debt, to purify your soul. You become a self-policing, self-correcting asset.
It creates this perfect closed loop of guilt. I can't dispute the debt because the evidence is buried in a past I can't access. It's the most perfect scam imaginable. It's like someone coming up to you and saying, "You owe me $1,000.
And you say, for what?
Oh, you forgot. It was from a long time ago. But trust me, you owe it. Now start paying."
It is a reincarnation lure. It completely relies on your amnesia.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the trap, from the system's perspective, is that it infinitely delays resolution. Keep working, keep suffering, keep clearing your tikkun, and eventually, maybe in the next lifetime or the one after that, you'll be free.
It reminds me of those predatory loans where you only ever pay the interest, but you never touch the principal debt.
It's exactly a predatory spiritual loan. And it anchors itself deep into our psychology with maybe the most dangerous, most powerful phrase in the entire spiritual lexicon. Everything happens for a reason.
Oh, this one. I have such a complicated relationship with this phrase. Because on one hand, it is the ultimate coping mechanism.
It is the ultimate sedative.
No, but hear me out. When a tragedy strikes, let's say you lose your job unexpectedly, the human brain is just screaming for a narrative. It's screaming for context. The idea that this is just random, meaningless bad luck induces a profound anxiety.
Of course. Chaos is terrifying.
But if I can reframe it, if I can say, no, this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. This happened so I could finally pivot to my true passion. Suddenly, I have agency. I have a story. It shifts me from being a victim to being the protagonist.
I understand the comfort. I really, really do. But we have to look at the price of that comfort. The source argues this mindset is, at its core, system compliance. It creates what it calls a universal audit illusion.
An audit illusion, what does that mean?
It means that when something bad happens, instead of looking outward at the real causes, a broken economy, an unfair boss, the random nature of biology, you immediately look inward. You audit yourself.
What is the lesson for me here?
What did I do to attract this?
What is the universe trying to teach me?
You internalize all the blame. You justify the suffering. And more importantly, you justify the system's cruelty and its randomness. If a child gets sick and we dare to say everything happens for a reason, we are essentially saying that the profound suffering of that child is a necessary logistical expense for some higher plan.
That's monstrous.
It is monstrous. It's what the source calls archontic justification. It's the cosmic management explaining away its own glitches or its own malice as a benevolent test designed for your personal growth.
It absolves the system of all responsibility.
And that's where skepticism has to be our shield. A true skeptic looks at a car crash and says, that was physics. That was friction and momentum and maybe some bad timing. It wasn't a lesson. It wasn't a soul correction. It was a collision of metal and glass.
But that's so bleak to some people, a universe of pure random collision.
Is it bleak or is it liberating? Because if it's just physics, I don't have to feel guilty about it. I don't have to scour my soul for the sin that caused it. I don't have to invent a reason. I can just deal with the crash and move on.
That's a very fair point. If there is no hidden reason, there is no hidden guilt.
Exactly. But the system needs you to feel that guilt because guilt generates energy. Which brings us to section 3, the energy harvest.
Okay, this is the part that can sound the most like science fiction, but when you actually map it out, it looks a lot like modern marketing. The system runs on 2 primary fuels, fear and desire.
Specifically, the command to expand desire. In many spiritual traditions, like Kabbalah, there is explicit instruction to make your vessel, your capacity to receive the light, bigger and bigger. You are literally told that you do not want enough.
Expand your vessel. It sounds so aspirational. Don't settle for small things. You were meant for more. Want the infinite.
But think about the mechanism behind that. If I am content, truly deeply content, just sitting here in this chair, drinking a cup of coffee, looking out the window, I am useless to the economy.
Yeah.
And I am completely useless to this spiritual matrix.
Why?
Because I'm not striving. I am not earning. I am not generating that frequency of yearning, of lacking.
Contentment is static. Desire is kinetic. It moves.
Contentment is kryptonite to the system. So the system has to inject you with a stimulant. It has to tell you, no, that simple cup of coffee isn't enough. You need the light of the infinite. You need to swallow the entire galaxy.
So it massively inflates your wants. It creates a perpetual lack awareness that can never, ever be filled. Because even if you get the car or the dream job or the perfect partner, you've been trained to want the infinite, so nothing will ever be enough.
You become a bottomless pit, a black hole of desire. The source calls this a desire farm. It's a clever mimic of something like Tantra, which uses the energy of desire as fuel for enlightenment, but it twists it. Instead of using desire to break through the system, it uses desire to keep you permanently hooked up to the feed.
And the flow chart they provided in the research is just chilling. It's so simple. It goes axioms, the rules of the game, emotional levers, hope for wholeness, fear of lack, bafflement, harvest.
Let's talk about that third step, bafflement. This is a key control tactic. The deliberate use of complex, mystical, often impenetrable jargon. Severo, Partsufum, vibrational frequencies, quantum entanglements, Pleiadian light codes.
It completely overwhelms the critical mind. You hear all that and you think, wow, this is so deep and complicated. It must be true. I'm just not smart enough to understand it yet, so I better just listen to the guru and do what they say.
Exactly. It disarms your logic. It makes you feel small and ignorant. And while you are baffled and yearning, the system harvests your attention, your devotion, your money, and your emotional energy. But what happens if you start to wake up? What happens if you start to question the guru or the system?
Then the system's immune response kicks in. We had to talk about gossip and the evil eye.
Now, in polite society, we say don't gossip because it's mean and it hurts people's feelings. And sure, don't be a jerk. But the spiritual prohibition on evil speech, or lashon hara in Hebrew, goes so much deeper.
It frames speech as having actual metaphysical weight. The teaching is that if you speak negatively about someone, even if what you are saying is 100% true, you literally create negative angels. You birth demonic forces with your words that will then come back to haunt you.
Now think about the function of that belief, not the theology, the function. If I realize that my spiritual teacher is a fraud, or that these universal laws are not working and I try to warn you about it, that is evil speech.
So you stay silent. You are terrified that by speaking the truth and exposing a lie, you are actually dirtying your own soul and creating bad karma for yourself.
Is what the source calls empathy enforcement. It polices all dissent. It creates a surveillance state inside your own head. You become your own censor, terrified to say anything critical.
And then you have the evil eye, the idea that other people's envy or jealousy can physically harm you or block your blessings. Protect the seed, they tell you. Don't talk about your success until it's solidified, or their envy will kill it.
This is a mechanism that destroys solidarity. If I am afraid of your envy, I can't trust you. If I can't trust you, we can't organize against a flawed system. It atomizes the community. It turns everyone into isolated competitors.
Everyone is in their own little silo, protecting their seed, working on their vessel, completely terrified of their neighbor. It's the absolute opposite of community. It's metaphysical paranoia.
It's union busting for the soul. And it keeps everyone focused on their own personal abundance, which leads us directly into Section 4, the false promise, or as the source calls it, the prosperity gospel upgrade.
This is where spirituality meets late-stage capitalism, and they don't just get married, they launch a joint business venture.
It's a match made in hell. The modern spiritual axiom repeated endlessly online is, wholeness magnetizes prosperity.
If you build it, the money will come.
Yeah.
If you just vibrate at the frequency of abundance, the universe has no choice but to deliver. We see this everywhere. The wealth mindset coaches, the manifestation gurus.
And it sounds incredibly empowering, right? Take control of your finances through your mind. But you have to look at the shadow, the inverse of that statement. If wholeness attracts money, what does poverty imply?
That you aren't whole, that you're broken,
Yeah.
that you have a poverty consciousness or a lack mentality.
It completely moralizes your bank account. It takes brutal, systemic economic realities, wage stagnation, corporate greed, housing crises, and it turns them into a personal, spiritual failure.
It is the ultimate form of victim blaming. If you are poor, it's not because the system is rigged against you, it's because your vessel is too small or your vibration is too low.
It induces this deep corrosive guilt, and it introduces what our source identifies as the solipsism trap.
Solipsism being the philosophical idea that only your own mind is sure to exist, that the external world might just be a projection.
Right. And when you take the axiom beliefs shape reality to its absolute extreme, you enter a state of functional solipsism. You start to believe that you are the sole cause of everything in your universe.
I manifested this traffic jam because I was running late.
I manifested this illness to teach myself a lesson.
I manifested the global recession.
It's absolute insanity. But it serves a very convenient political purpose. The source argues that this solipsizes systemic barriers. It erases the external world. Why would you fight for social justice? Why join a union? Why vote? If the only problem in the world is my own negative thoughts, then the only solution is to meditate more.
It paralyzes all political and collective action. It turns active citizens into passive navel-gazers.
And the anarcho-primitivist critique that the source brings in here is fascinating. They argue that this integration of business and spirit is the final stage of alienation. We've taken the one thing that was supposed to be sacred and untouchable, our spirit, our connection to the divine, and we have yoked it to the production of capital.
We turned God into a cosmic slot machine.
And we turned ourselves into gamblers, endlessly pulling the lever of manifestation, burning through our life force, waiting for the jackpot.
And that jackpot, that ultimate fulfillment, is always just one shift away, the miracle shift.
You're almost there. You're just on the cusp of a breakthrough. The miracles are all lined up waiting for you to unlock them.
It's a reincarnation lure, but for the living, it keeps you constantly living in the future. I'll be happy when I have my shift. I'll finally be worthy when the miracle comes.
You never, ever inhabit the present moment. The present is just a dingy waiting room for the glorious future miracle. It steals your actual life, one moment at a time.
Okay. Solarian. We have completely dismantled the house. We have exposed the faulty foundation, the prison walls, the rigged economy, the psychological traps. It's a ruin. But we can't leave people standing in the rubble.
Agreed.
We need to offer some tools. Tools to build something else.
We do. The source provides what they call the heretical cross, a powerful toolkit of 4 counter-philosophies that can be used to hack, dismantle, or escape the matrix. And I want to spend some real time on these because this isn't just name-dropping interesting ideas. These are weapons.
Let's start with the heavy artillery then. Gnosticism.
We touched on this earlier, but let's really go deep now. Most people think of Gnosticism as just some weird, heretical form of early Christianity, but it's really the original grand conspiracy theory of reality.
It's a whole different operating system for the cosmos.
Completely. The Gnostic mythos argues that the true ultimate God, they call it the monad or the pleroma, is completely alien and unrecognizable to us. It is pure, abstract, unknowable perfection. It did not create our world.
And the world we live in, this material plane,
Was created by a mistake, an accident, an entity called the demiurge, often identified as Yaldabaoth, who was an emanation from a higher being, but was born in ignorance. He's an arrogant, flawed God who looks around and thinks he's the only God.
He's the cosmic manager we talked about.
He's the one who created the material world as a copy of the divine realm, but it's a flawed, broken copy. It's a prison.
Yeah.
And he set up his archons, his rulers, to manage it.
So when we talk about the universal laws or the rulers of fate,
To a Gnostic, the archons are those rulers. In ancient Gnosticism, the planets and the stars were literally seen as the layers of the prison walls, each one guarded by an archon. The laws of physics and morality were the bars of the cage.
this completely inverts the entire spiritual narrative. In the standard story, we are students in a divine school, learning lessons. In the Gnostic story, we are hostages in a flawed simulation.
Exactly. And that light the system dangles in front of you, the light of the Creator, Gnostics call that the false light. It's a lure, a counterfeit light used by the archons to trick souls into forgetting their true origin and recycling back into bodies, back into the prison. Go to the light is the worst advice you can give.
So how does a listener apply this? I mean, it's a pretty grim and complex mythology.
It's not about believing the mythology literally with snake-headed gods and all that. It's about adopting the stance. The Gnostic stance is radical suspicion.
Yeah.
It teaches you to look at any form of absolute authority, whether it's a politician, a guru, a corporation, or a universal law, and ask the fundamental question, is this for my liberation? Or is this a mechanism of control?
It gives you permission to stop worshiping the system. You don't have to be grateful for your suffering anymore.
Yeah.
You can look at the chaos and injustice of the world and say, this isn't a divine test. This is a system error. This is bad design.
That is an incredibly freeing realization. It breaks the trauma bond you have with the universe. You finally stop loving your abuser.
Okay, that's a powerful weapon. What's number 2? Advaita Vedanta.
This is what the source calls the non-dual nuke. It's a completely different approach. Gnosticism says the prison is real, and we need to plot a daring escape. Advaita Vedanta says, what prison? There is no prison.
This is one of the core philosophies from ancient India. It teaches that Atman, which is the individual self or soul, and Brahman, the ultimate, all-encompassing reality, are one and the same. Not just connected or similar, they are identical.
Think about a single wave in the ocean. The wave has a temporary form, it has a location, it thinks it's a separate entity. It looks at the vastness of the ocean and says, wow, I want to be big and powerful like the ocean. I need to earn more water. I need to flow according to the laws of waves.
But the wave is water. It is already the ocean, just in a temporary form.
Exactly. The sense of separation is the illusion. In Sanskrit, this illusion is called Maya. And in the context of our spiritual matrix, the entire trap is built on Maya. It's built on the illusion of earning. Earning implies a distance. I am here, the light is there, and I must do X, Y, and Z to cross the distance.
Advaita collapses that distance instantly, it says. You are already there. You are already what you seek.
If you are already the light, you cannot earn it. You cannot lose it. You cannot increase it or decrease it. It just is. The entire spiritual marketplace becomes obsolete in a single moment of recognition.
So the practical application here is a kind of radical acceptance. If I'm feeling broken or flawed, the Advaita perspective isn't, I need to do a ritual to fix this. It's, who is this I that feels broken?
Right. It dissolves the egoic self that is obsessed with the spiritual audit. It just cuts the legs out from under the ladder. You stop climbing. You sit down. And you realize you were never on the ground to begin with. You were always at the destination.
It completely destroys the tycoon concept. There is no debt. You can't correct what is already infinite, timeless perfection. You just woke up from a bad dream where you thought you were small and in debt.
Okay, weapon number 3, Stoicism.
Now, Stoicism is very trendy right now. You know, Silicon Valley tech bros love it, the memento mori coins and all that. But how does it function as a tool against this matrix?
It functions as the shield of reason. The spiritual matrix is constantly screaming at you. You must control your reality, manifest, visualize, vibrate. If something bad happens, it's because you failed to control the energy.
Which is an incredibly stressful way to live. It makes you a control freak of the entire universe.
Stoicism looks at that and says, calmly, you are delusional. You control almost nothing. You don't control the economy. You don't control the weather. You don't control what other people think or do. You don't even control your own body half the time. It gets sick. It gets old.
This is the famous Stoic dichotomy of control. Separate what is in your power from what is not.
Precisely. The only thing you have absolute control over is your own mind. Your judgments about events, your internal reaction, that's it. That's your kingdom.
So the Matrix says, vibrate at a higher frequency so you don't get fired from your job. The Stoic says, I might get fired. That is external to me and outside my ultimate control. But if I do, I will not lose my dignity. I will not be broken by it. My character remains intact.
It's the practice of apatheia, not apathy, which is not caring about anything, but equanimity. It's the state of being an emotional fortress. The Matrix relies on you being an exposed nerve, constantly reacting to every sign, every omen, every perceived slight from the universe. The Stoic is immune to omens.
It's a profound immunity to both the carrot and the stick. You can't bribe a Stoic with a manifested miracle, and you can't threaten them with bad karma. They accept fate as it comes, rationally and calmly.
Amor fati. Love of fate. Not because every event is good or a lesson, but simply because it is. It removes the fear and the desire that the entire system feeds on.
And finally, the wild card. The most modern of the tools. Weapon number 4, chaos magic.
The hacker ethos. I love this one because it is so profoundly disrespectful to the idea of fixed universal laws.
Chaos magic really emerged in the late 20th century. It's less about ancient rituals and more about applied psychology and, well, hacking consciousness.
The central premise, the core of it all, is this. Belief is a tool. In the spiritual matrix, you are a slave to your beliefs. I must believe in karma. I must believe in the light. Chaos magic looks at that and says, no, beliefs are software. They are apps. I can install them and uninstall them at will, depending on the task at hand.
This is the concept of paradigm shifting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say I have to get through a terrifying ordeal, like a public speaking event. A chaos magician might say, okay, for the next 3 days, I am going to install the belief with 100% conviction that I am a charismatic warrior poet protected by the god Apollo.
And they would actually believe it.
For a time. They use rituals, visualizations, whatever it takes to install that belief. They use the adrenaline, the confidence, the power that the belief generates to accomplish the task. And when the speech is over,
they uninstall it.
They uninstall it. They laugh at it. They don't worship Apollo. They use Apollo as a psychological lever.
It's an incredibly pragmatic approach. The question is not, is this belief true, but is this belief useful right now?
It creates what they call a meta-belief. The only core belief you hold is that you are the programmer. You are the one who chooses the reality tunnel. If the law of attraction isn't working for you, delete the code. Install the law of stochastic luck. or install the law of I don't give a damn.
It completely undermines the authority of the so-called axioms. If I can change the fundamental rules of my reality whenever I want, the matrix loses all its structural integrity. It just becomes one playset among many.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. That is the chaos motto. It is the ultimate radical claim of personal sovereignty.
So we have the Gnostic suspicion, the Advaita unity, the Stoic shield, and the chaos hack. That is a very powerful and diverse toolkit.
It is. And it brings us to the final synthesis. Section 6. Breaking the cycle.
The source boils all of those 13 deceptions we've walked through down to one single devastating sentence. And it's this: earned wholeness defers resolution.
We need to tattoo this on the inside of our eyelids. As long as you are trying to earn wholeness, you are confirming by the very act of trying that you do not have it.
Right.
The search creates the loss.
It's Zeno's paradox, the Greek paradox of motion. You keep walking halfway to the goal and then halfway again, but because the goal is always earning, you can never, ever actually arrive.
So what is the escape protocol? The source outlines 3 clear, actionable steps to walk out of the prison.
Step 1, refuse lures.
Stop accepting challenges as cosmic tests. When your car breaks down on the highway, do not ask, what is the universe trying to teach me with this? Ask, where is the nearest mechanic?
Refuse to create a narrative out of it. Don't season the meal for the archons. Don't add your delicious emotional anguish to what is, at its core, a simple logistical problem.
Step 2, burn dependencies.
This is the hardest one, I think. Reject the need for an external light or an external savior. It's hard because we feel small. We want a cosmic parent. We want to believe the universe is holding us and has a plan for us.
It is a weaning process. It's spiritual adulthood.
Yeah.
You have to realize that the comfort you get from the universe is a placebo. The strength you feel when you pray to the light, that strength is coming from you. It was always you. You were just projecting it onto a cosmic screen. Take the screen down. Keep the strength.
And that leads to step 3. Claim sovereignty.
Move from mimicry to autonomy. Stop asking, am I doing this right according to the spiritual rules? Stop asking, is this what a high vibration person would do? Start asking, is this me?
Trust your own reason. Trust your own gut. Trust your own moral compass, even if it contradicts the laws, especially if it contradicts the laws.
But we have to address the final subtle trap before we finish. The source calls it the no shame paradox.
Oh, this is a tricky one. Modern spirituality loves to say, no shame, no guilt, be kind to yourself. You are perfect just as you are.
Watch the sleight of hand. The system says don't feel shame, while simultaneously handing you a laundry list of things you need to transform, heal, shift, clear, and fix about yourself.
It creates an impossible double bind. You're perfect and whole, but you have a lot of work to do. Well, if I have work to do, then I'm not perfect. Then I'm not perfect, I feel shame. But then I'm told I shouldn't feel shame, so now I feel shame about feeling shame.
It's a form of psychological gaslighting. The source argues that the system preaches no shame to absolve itself, not you. It wants you to keep working on the hamster wheel without the messy side effect of having a complete mental breakdown from the cognitive dissonance.
So what is the synthesis? What's the way out of that paradox?
The synthesis is realizing that true liberation isn't found in feeling no shame within the system's framework. It's found in refusing the system's definition of you entirely.
It's looking at the infinite laundry list of soul corrections and past life baggage and throwing the whole list in the trash.
It is the simple, quiet, radical assertion, I am not a project.
I am not a project.
Yeah.
That's very quiet.
It stops the noise. It stops the striving. It stops the harvesting machine in its tracks.
Yeah.
If you aren't a project, you don't need a manager. You don't need a guru. You don't need a universal law to measure yourself against.
You just exist.
You just exist.
But
And for the first time, maybe, that existence is finally and completely yours.
And that's our deep dive for this week.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. Knowing what you know now about these spiritual deceptions, what's one small rebellious act you can do this week to reclaim your innate sovereignty and refuse the cycle of earned resolution?
Let us know in the comments. Question the narrative. Deconstruct the dogma. See the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical.
Thank you for joining us.